Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Sam Speaks to a Successful Client. Today we have Mahesh. Mahesh, it's the first time in 2 years I've ever seen you wear a shirt.
Yeah, true. That's why I wanted to surprise you. So I was like, I got a clean shave and a shirt on. So I was
I,
like,
I thought about shaving. I didn't go quite that far. I thought I'd save
yeah.
the beard for another few more days. Mahesh, tell us about yourself.
So yeah, as you know, as you know, but I have a healthcare background. I started off as a biomedical engineer. I opened my first startup in my second year of my undergrad, and so I wanted to work in the healthcare space. So then I worked as a biomedical engineer in a hospital to understand
Yeah.
how equipment kind of worked and how I kind of need to maintain and buy equipment for my own labs. So yeah, I kind of worked as a biomedical engineer for like 4 years until 2020.
hmm
Then I kind of switched into sustainable consulting, where I kind of help build sustainable healthcare spaces. Kind
So a
of,
really interesting combination of sustainability
uh,
and healthcare. Not many people have that, right?
yeah. I've
So
kind of experimented with my career. It's not very typical of an Indian individual to do, but yeah, I kind of took my chances.
I love it. So tell us about your MBA journey. Where did you apply? Where did you get admitted? Tell us about that.
Oh my God, yeah, it was a roller coaster, as you know. It's like this is my second year of application. First year, I was very happy because it's like we had a bang on story. I was extremely confident, but I got too cocky and didn't apply to the schools which kind of suggested me to.
So
And
let me
you
just
have
jump in
to,
here. So Mahesh and I have worked together for 2 years in a row, 2 consecutive years. And what Mahesh is referring to is going into it the first time, kind of cold, a little bit naive, maybe, to the realities of MBA
correct.
applications, quite confident. And then we did it all again a second time. So, with that context, tell us how it went.
Yeah, Sam gives you the brutal truth, which sometimes is not palatable, but that is the truth. He did ask me to apply in round two. He told I had better chances, but I was like, you know what? Next year is gonna be amazing. So I kind of reapplied this year, but this year was like extremely competitive as well. So yeah, the first year I was actually looking at different MBA consultants. I always made my mind up that I needed to work with a consultant. Kind of reached out to a few, worked with a few, but I never found that synergy with any of my consultants, because it's like they kind of didn't listen to me properly, didn't kind of understand my story. They gave me these cliched answers, like a template sort of an answer, which I was not okay with. They told that I was not from a good school. I'm not coming from a company which had not coming from an MNC or something, didn't see the
Mhm.
work which I actually did. So finally, I kind of took that chance, scheduled that first call with you. When we kind of spoke, the thing was, you were warm and you kind of gave me the brutal truth, which was okay. But yeah, I kind of figured it out. Then I was like, I sat down, thought about it, and I just took a leap of faith, and it kind of worked out beautifully.
Yeah.
Even
So when
though,
you say brutal, what you're referring to is like, yeah, a personable meeting and a nice conversation and really taking on board your story, but
yeah.
then not just telling you what you want to hear afterwards.
Correct, because it's like if you remember the first time I spoke to you, Sam, I was like, I'm only looking to apply to M7 schools, Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton. Other than that, all the other schools are like my, backup options. And you were like, Mahesh, let me be extremely honest with you. Even though you have a good profile, you're coming from an overly represented background and you are a male. So no matter what you do, it's very hard to get in. Because it's like I did have a decent GRE score and a GMAT score. I thought that was enough. But then you gave me a reality check where, people from India kind of have much better scores. So I was like, it was hard at first, but once I started working and I started looking at people, I kind of realized that, not everything is about the school. In the end, what matters is the school, taking you to your ultimate destination. It's like if you want
Yeah.
to pivot your job, or if it wants to grow your personality or something like that. In the end, that's what matters.
Yeah.
So
So we'll
I
talk
kind of
about your
understood.
motivation a little bit more in a second. I'm just want to build on that point you've just said there. So the rule of thumb when I speak to Indian applicants is you need a GMAT GRE that is like something like 20 points higher than
Correct.
class average
or more.
or
More
more.
never hurts. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so for class four, to give you an idea, in the old GMAT, what that means for M7 is about 730 or thereabouts in the old GMAT. Nowadays, it's more like a 685 in that kind of ballpark, which means that Indians really, especially Indian male engineers in particular, need a GMAT score for the M7 that is well into the 700s. And that is what Mahesh is referring to, right? And that is something that a lot of people kind of come into the process not unaware of. And it's one of the things that I will tell anyone watching, if you come and meet me in a one-on-one meeting, it's one of the things I will tell you is I will give you a very clear indication of where I think your GMAT score needs to be, just like I did with Mahesh. Mahesh, I cut you off there. You were saying about how an MBA fits into your professional journey. Given that you've got this background that is a little bit sustainability and a little bit healthcare, how do you think an MBA is going to help you?
So yeah, I mean, as you know, I basically want to expand my entrepreneurial venture, like first throughout India and then abroad. So I was actually talking to you. This is what is my vision. I know it's like far-fetched, but you told me, I still remember that, it's supposed to be ambitious. It's supposed to be far-fetched. So I was like, you know what, I want to manufacture my own equipment, which is kind of used in my own diagnostic centers. So yeah, I wanted to understand different markets and how they work. So that's why I made my mind up that I wanted an MBA from a US MBA college because of the diversity
Mhm.
and the healthcare market over there because I wanted to study that.
Yeah.
I would get hands-on experience and the healthcare club and other clubs which I'll get involved. I thought that I'd get amazing exposure to because I'll be interacting with accountants, business owners, let's say consultants. So
Mhm.
I don't need to hire a I know I don't need to reach out to BCG or Bain to help me solve my problem. I'll probably reach out to my peers. So that's
Yeah.
what I wanted my MBA.
That's really, really cool. So as we look back then over the sort of the 2 year journey, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced during that time?
So the first year, the biggest challenge, as I told you, was acceptance that,
Yeah.
how can a school not accept me? It's like I have a bang on story, amazing score. And it's like, as you know, I fell in love with each and every answer we came up with and the story we formed. I was like,
Mhm.
man, how can I not get in?
Yep.
So that's the reason why I couldn't apply in the second round. But the second year, I kind of understood how things worked. So second year was a different challenge because it's like we can't submit the same stories, even though what's that
Mhm.
called? My job kind of evolved, but my core story still remained the same. So how do I kind of make the school understand that, yeah, this is me, but a better version of me?
That's
That's
a
where
really
you
interesting dilemma that I think a lot of re-applicants are going to feel,
correct.
which is you've already written the story once, which hope you feel was authentic. How do you
Exactly.
write another application? It can't be exactly the same. So how do you do
Correct.
it? I think in your case, what we did was your role, it coincided with your role changing a little bit, didn't it?
Correct.
So we
Yeah.
updated the school, we changed the narrative slightly, subtly, but
Yeah.
also enough for it to make a difference
Correct.
when you were reapplying.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think that was amazing because my mind was all blank because it's like I thought we just simply put in that, yeah, I changed my role. But that's where you're told, why don't we kind of slightly modify your story because there's a sustainability aspect to this. So why
Mhm.
don't we do it that way? So I kind of didn't think about it like that because it's like I was so attached to my first story that
Mhm.
I didn't want my second story. But yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of understood why
Yeah.
it was done.
And so, can you share the final outcome? Because so you got after 2 years, you got your admit and you got a little scholarship, I believe.
Not a little scholarship, a massive
Not a little at
scholarship.
all.
Uh,
Tell us.
I was actually worried, Sam's taking all my savings. How do I pay for my business school? But no, finally, you made up for all the loss, Sam. It's okay.
What
Um,
was the return on investment?
Uh, I mean, I don't know. It's like I'll probably tell it after I get placed because I'm confident that I know I will. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'll probably update you in like 2 more years for my. It's like once we meet again for my second hi-fi session. So yeah.
I, I like that. Okay, good plan. Okay. So tell us about the interview process specifically. A
Oh
lot of
yeah.
a lot of people struggle with the interview process. You are very charismatic, but as you said, you haven't been through like the corporate side where interview training is sort of kind of a bit of part of it. So how did you prepare for your interviews?
I still remember our first interview where I was like extremely confident coming into the interview, but then I started blabbering, I started stammering, and I was like, Sam, I can't do this. Then you were like, Mahesh, I think you're kind of feeling that you're not ready yet. You know, you gave me that pep talk, which I still remember. But after that, it was like natural. I think I remember my interviews with all the other two consultants as
How
well.
many did you do in total, do you think?
I think I did like 6 interviews. Because I we didn't apply to a lot of schools. Again, which I didn't take your advice, but we didn't apply to a lot of schools, but most of the schools we did our interviews. So yeah, but it kind of helped me a lot where we did multiple interviews and the feedback which you kind of gave, like each question, my answer, what could I do better? If it was better, yeah, this is perfect, just stick to this. And you gave me that a little score after each interview, which it kind of gave me a reality check and it gave me confidence that, yeah, it's okay, I can actually speak with anyone.
Mm,
And
mm.
it gave me that confidence. Yeah.
So 6 mock interviews with what, probably 3 or 4 different people
Yeah.
to get there to where you
Yeah.
needed to be for the
And
interviews.
I loved every single one because it's like no one was similar. Each one had their own interview style.
Uh-huh.
The scrutiny was amazing because you're supposed to be grilled because not every interview will go accordingly. Like not
Mm,
every interviewer is the same. So yeah,
mm.
I kind of felt that was like really good because it's like I'm very comfortable with you. I'm not the same with the other interviewer.
Right. So
So
what you're
yeah,
getting at here is this idea that interviewing with somebody who you know is very different from interviewing with
correct.
someone you don't know. And so for those watching here at Sandwich Consulting, what we do is you typically clients interview with their lead consultant, with your lead consultant, but then you do interviews with other people in the team. And that's what Mahesh is referring to, because that way you get that kind of fresh face interview experience, which is frankly a lot more realistic.
Yeah, and not only that, before I can kind of forget this, if you remember the second application cycle, I had the liberty to reach out to other consultants at Sam's Consulting to, kind of get an input in my story. It's like, what can be done? Is it unique enough? Because it's like
Mhm.
I was having that, Sam, you know what? Both of us like the story very much. Why don't we get a third opinion? We not only got a third opinion, but we got a fourth opinion as well.
Yeah.
I That was
Yeah.
like very crucial.
Yeah. And that's something we've really built into the process is
Yeah.
this idea of when, at the key decision points in the application process, particularly the goals and the
Yeah.
narrative step where you're going to
Yeah.
create a narrative for the application process, getting reassurance from other members in the team who have maybe got different professional experience from different schools, provides that reassurance that the narrative that we've put together is strong and palatable for the schools that you're applying
Correct.
to. That's nice. So, Mahesh, tell us, you've now been admitted. It's, as we speak, it is February 2025. You
Mhm.
were admitted into the 2025 intake. So you're going to be starting in September 2025 in,
June. I
what's
mean, I
that?
have my orientation in June.
Okay, June.
Yeah.
Orientation begins in June. So what are you going to be doing between February and June to prepare for the MBA, like the administration stuff, the visa stuff? What does all that look like? Walk us through that process.
First, I'm having the time of my life. I'm traveling a lot, as you know. So like, I still remember it's like even at in our meetings, I was never at the same place. It's like you always told me that, Mahesh, do you have a new background? Do you have a new background? I still remember that. But yeah, on a
Mash
serious
doesn't mind a holiday for those watching.
No, but on a serious note, I think I'm reaching. So what I'm doing is I know how the situation is in the US. So I'm reaching out to the current students who kind of got their internships, understanding, what should I do? Where do I lack? I mean, let's say soft skills or Excel skills. I'm reaching out to them. I'm kind of working on them. And not only that, the visa process and, getting my financial statements intact, all the
Mhm.
documentation is being done. But yeah, the major thing what I'm doing is kind of getting accustomed to my first year of my MBA because it's like I want to recruit into consulting. So it's very hectic in the first semester. So I'm just doing whatever I can so that the
Yeah.
first year is very smooth sailing for me.
Consulting recruiting starts really, really quick,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
correct.
Yeah. Within the first like month or so, you're expected to already have.
Correct. So I'm already speaking with students who already got their internships. I'm talking with people from the clubs and
Mm.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a consulting internship would be really, really good exposure for you to get exposure to different industries and that like
Yeah.
brought that breadth of experience that you really need to get to your long-term goals of set of that we talked about before. Yeah, I like it. Okay, that brings me on to the question of, the job market in the US right now is
Yeah.
tough. It is tough. How confident are you that an MBA is going to be worthwhile?
So let me be really honest over here. I'm not looking for a job. I mean, per se, yes, I do want a job, but in the end, what I'm looking from a US MBA, I'm looking for the experience. I'm looking to get involved with different people from different industries, understand their inputs, just interact with leaders who come and speak at our schools, talk to my seniors who are already like in the industries, how the industry dynamics work and other stuff like that. And I'll need to understand how the US market works, how their policies work. Once I get that input, I feel like I can survive anywhere. Again, I might be cocky here. Someone needs to give me a reality check, but this is my thinking as of now.
Well,
So
maybe.
I'm not looking to get a job. I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking for an experience, 2 year experience. But yeah.
Yeah. If you have a perspective on that and you want to share it in the comments, you'd be very welcome to, viewers. Give Mahesh some guidance on the
Please do.
application process in the
Yeah.
US. Good. Okay. Um, Tell us then. One thing I'd love to hear is you've now been through the process, start to finish. What advice would you give someone who's like right at the beginning, scratching their head, thinking maybe they've heard of the GMAT and they're thinking, oh my God, I don't even know where to start. Like, what advice would you give them
Talk to Sam.
apart from
But
that?
no, I mean, start early because it's like I remember I started early, but and in the end, once you start early as well, don't give up. It's like a marathon. You get tired after the first round. Just stick to it. Don't do something what I did because it's like apply to round two because it's like trust me, it works. But
What do you
yeah.
mean by that? Explain that.
So, because it's like if you remember, I didn't apply in round two. I was like, you know what, I'll get into these schools in round one. Because even though I'm waitlisted, I'm confident that I gave my interviews, they went really well, but I'll get in. And I never applied to
Ah,
other
so you
schools in round
applied.
two.
What you're saying is you applied in round one to
Yeah,
a bunch of schools, and then you were considering applying in round two to a different set of schools.
I
Decided
wasn't. You
not.
asked me to, which I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I suggested to you that given that
right.
you're waitlisted, like
Yeah,
let's back up, have some backup plan in place, add some applications in round two. You decided
right.
not to, and then said waited until round one the following year.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
not only that, I feel like people need to invest in a good consultant because it's like I call it an investment because, as I told, I kind of got a huge scholarship around
Yeah.
80. So I don't see it as an expense because it's like someone who's there to listen to your process because it's
Mhm.
extremely tiring. You'll need someone to talk to and someone to constantly check on. Because Sam was like a consultant and a therapist for me. Because it's like even though I didn't talk to him for a bit, I kind of don't respond to his messages. Kind of constantly checks in. Hey Mahesh, it's been a long time. Can you give me an update? So that kind of nudges you and pushes you to work towards your application. So that's
Yeah.
something which is needed.
When you
And
say when you say it was like a therapy, like it was like a therapist, or it was like therapy, like can you explain that to somebody? What somebody from the outside is thinking, why would it be like a therapist? Like explain that.
yeah, because it's like once you start applying, you get this imposter syndrome because it's like you see people getting into these huge schools, let's say Harvard with a huge scholarship, and you over here are not getting any interviews. You know that you have an amazing story and a beautiful application, but you're still not getting through.
Mm.
It kind of, beats you down a bit, but you'll need someone to talk to who's been there, who's kind of worked with multiple people and have seen and who can tell you, yeah, if you don't get in, that's okay. Maybe the school didn't deserve you. You have a better school, which is a much better fit for you. So like you need
Mm.
that, reassurance. If I would say,
Mm.
yeah,
I
a
think what
reassurance.
I think what you needed as well, Mahesh, and this is quite common, is a you're the kind of person that wants to be working, wants to be doing
Yeah,
something, wants to be working.
correct. Yeah,
So what a consultant can do, and what I did certainly with you was, okay, this has happened. Instead of getting bogged down in it, let's think productively about what you can do next.
yeah,
Either to, maybe it's waitlist updates, maybe it's start planning your next applications, but kind of keep that vision looking forward, looking at the
yeah,
next steps, so that you don't get bogged down and in your head over stuff
yeah.
that already happened. That was a bit of that, right?
Because I remember you were like, document everything what you do. It's like make a
Mhm.
website. It's like make sure the school sees it and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That kind of paid off though. Yeah,
Yeah.
every single thing paid off. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's advice like, during the waitlist process, let's look at where are the little gaps in your profile that we
yeah,
can maybe fill, and things like, what can we update the school on? What have you done that we can update the school on?
yeah,
Even if it feels a little bit routine, like, oh, I don't really want to update the school on this, more often
yeah,
than not, I will push to update the school on that next project that you've started working on that
yeah,
certificate that you've just finally finished. Like, I will push you to update the school, because they like getting those updates, because what it says to them, as well as, they're interested in the certificate, they're interested in your new project, they're also interested in knowing that you're still engaged,
yeah,
you're still interested in the school, and haven't, secured an admit elsewhere and have now run off. It helps them manage their applicant pipeline, which is
yeah.
really valuable. Okay, fantastic. Um, do you mind sharing the size of your scholarship, Mahesh?
Yeah, it's 80,000. Almost
80.
60%. Yeah, I think the tuition is around 120, but I got around 80K because
Right.
I didn't kind of apply it in the early admit. You asked me to apply for the early admit. Again, I kind of was rebellious. So I applied in round one.
Let's break down the finances then. Let's
Yeah.
let's get a bit granular about this. So you're saying, so the tuition is 120K. Is that all
Correct.
in?
In the sense, the living
2
expense?
years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Right. So over 2 years, 120K in tuition fees,
Correct.
80K come deducts, right? Is off that. So that leaves 40K of tuition fees remaining. What other costs are you anticipating? Walk us through like your budget in your mind.
The thing is, I wanna maximize my MBA expense. So it's like whatever I kind of
Expense or experience?
experience,
I
which
was gonna
kind
say
of
school are gonna love
maximizes
you.
my expense as well. I'm sorry, but yeah. So the thing is, whatever. I mean, I wanna travel, go on every single trek, whatever I can, so
Uh-huh.
that learn a lot every professional trek, let's say a fun trek or something. I want to be involved, so I'd probably use all the scholarship money in that. But yeah, the major expenses are the living expense because it's extremely expensive. Washington is expensive. So yeah, living
Mhm.
expense and all the other expenses are like very minute. So
Interesting. So go on then. Let's break this down. What do you think? How much are you budgeting for living expenses for a year, roughly?
uh so everything I'll say around 60,000 maybe.
Around 60K dollars per year, including
Yeah,
like trips and stuff,
yeah, correct.
including all the trips. And
Yeah.
to give those watching, that sounds like that's quite a high number. But to give the people watching, um, I have off the top of my head, Wharton do a leadership trek that's called Tall Ship Sailing, and they publish the price of this online, and it's like $8,000. And
Yeah.
you get in a little team and you sail a big ship around for a few days.
Africa, I
It's
think.
8 grand,
Yeah.
right? And all
Yeah.
schools have these kinds of options. And so the point being that 60K that Mahesh is saying, it disappears pretty quickly when you
Yeah.
start taking into account those kinds of costs. You start signing up for those kinds of treks. I imagine you might be flying back to India a couple of times to visit family, etc. as well. That probably gets priced in as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you tell us how much have you explored the loan options that are out there? Give us some insight into what borrowing looks like.
So yeah, I haven't explored a lot of loan options because it's
Okay.
like I kind of saved enough. So
Okay.
loan is like the last option which I'll explore. But yeah, the Prodigy Finance, which you kind of I still haven't spoken to them, but I'm looking at them and a few banks as well. But mostly, I don't think I'll take a loan. Is
Okay.
what?
Okay.
Yeah.
It does sound like I'm hearing that like more and more from people that they're like kind of on the fence. Like I could
Yeah.
scrape together all my savings and not have a loan, or I
Correct.
could keep some savings
Yeah.
and borrow the money. There seem to be sort of two main factors convincing people to do the plan that you've taken.
Yeah.
First one is you will have to drag other people into your loan process. For example, you need like co-signers and stuff, right?
Correct.
You have to drag
Yeah.
your parents into it.
Yeah.
It's often a lot of people are reluctant to do that for obvious reasons. And then the other thing is your interest rates now are much, much higher, right? Than they
Exactly.
have
Yeah.
been for a long time.
Yeah.
So the borrowing costs, and maybe you have some more updated numbers on this, but like you can expect like
It's around, I mean, for me, the bank was giving me around 9.6, which was fine. But yeah, uh,
9.6% interest rate. That's
yeah,
quite punchy.
yeah.
Right. So,
And the other banks in India were like around 12%. Yeah.
right.
So yeah,
Okay. So that's quite it's a high interest rate.
yeah,
And so if you can afford to beg, borrow, or steal the fees,
yeah. I'm doing the
then
third option. Trust me.
stealing it from family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Look, Mahesh, thank you so much for sharing that insight. Really, really valid, really useful. Tell us if somebody was interested in the MBA application process and wants to reach out to you to, bounce ideas off you and get some advice. How can they get in touch?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best option. Yeah.
Yeah, LinkedIn. And same thing for me. Anybody who would like to get in touch directly, LinkedIn's a really good option. We will share links to my profile and to Mahesh's profile in the comments of this video so you can get to us directly. Mahesh, fantastic. Great to catch
Yeah.
up as always. Um, when are you going to be flying?
I want to fly early, but I don't know. I just want to explore a bit more before I start,
Yeah. You said Georgetown orientation is
in June,
in June.
end of June. Yeah.
End of June.
Yeah.
So you could easily arrive like a month early and get
Yeah.
yourself settled.
Yeah, but
When does
US
it
is expensive, so I'd probably explore other parts of the world before I go to the US.
fair? Have you figured out your accommodation yet? Random question. Have
No,
you figured
not
out?
not yet, but everyone is very helpful. They're kind of reaching out. They're like, you can
Yeah.
just look
What
it
are
up.
your options? Just so at a high level, you have some idea. What are your options for accommodation?
There are a few studio apartments which I'm looking at. There are a
Uh,
few 2 bedrooms and 3 bedroom apartments which
so it's
I'm looking.
private accommodation mostly,
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at private accommodation.
right? And the alternative being like student dorms, right?
I don't think they're student dorms, but yeah.
No, some schools have student
Yeah,
dorms.
correct.
You're saying Georgetown doesn't. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, I'm
Okay,
not sure. Please don't take my word on it. I'm only looking at
yeah.
private accommodation. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, understood. Yeah, it was the same at Oxford. There was the option, particularly for early admits, to get uh, on-campus kind of dorm accommodation. That was a possibility for some people. I personally chose the private option, and I think Mahesh, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. But for me, it was one of the biggest factors in my actual MBA experience was where I lived relative to the
Yeah.
school. Having private accommodation shared with other MBAs within stone's throw of the school meant that I could like go home for lunch, or in the evenings I could walk back to college. I could go for beers after
Yeah.
studying and with friends. It was a really, really important decision actually in the process.
Yeah. It's not restrictive. I mean, I don't know. I don't think the dorms are like in the US are not like what they're in India, but I still am kind of used to that freedom where, I need to go back to sleep and I need to have my own space. So
Mm,
yeah, that's why I was
yeah,
like looking at my own accommodation. And not only that, as you told, it's like where friends can catch up. I would love to host like huge dinners or parties. So yeah,
nice.
that's why I would want a private accommodation.
Oh, man, you're gonna have a fantastic year.
Can't wait.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Mahesh, thank you so much for catching up. Really, really nice. And I'll be thinking of you next year. I think you have the kind of character that is going to get the most out of an MBA. Like that
Yeah.
kind of go get it character, whether it's the traveling.
No, if I'm down, I'll probably reach out to my therapist. So it's like, so I'm basically getting the most out of Sam. So, because it's like every single penny what I spent, I'm getting it out of Sam.
Squeezing every penny of
Yeah.
value out of the admission consulting service. Well, Mahesh, it's been a pleasure. I'd be more than happy to provide a bit
No,
more
but
guidance on
I
the way.
couldn't have done this without you. I'm extremely grateful. I think you know that, but I'm just making it at a point. I won't, I couldn't have gone through this journey without you. It's extremely tiring. At times, it's demotivating. So yeah, thank you so much, Sam.
My absolute pleasure. No, it was genuinely, it was really, really nice. Mahesh, I'll be thinking of you. One last thing, important. Can I get a high
Yeah. Yeah, I've been waiting for this for 2 years.
five? Have a great time. I'll see you soon.
You too, Sam. Bye.
See ya.